Gabby Thomas is making headlines again. But this time, it's not just about what she does on the track. The Olympic champion is opening up about the future of women's sports, her personal style, athlete identity, and her latest collaboration with New Balance. And this is much more than a simple sneaker collaboration. Gabby Thomas is showing how modern athletes can compete at the highest level while also building their own identity beyond competition. From sprinting to fashion, from women's sports to everyday life, Thomas is proving that being an elite athlete doesn't mean having to fit into just one box. So what did Gabby Thomas reveal? Why does she believe women's sports are entering such an important era? And what makes her latest New Balance collaboration so personal? Let's break it all down. Gabby Thomas has already established herself as one of the biggest stars in American track and field. But over the past few years, her influence has expanded far beyond the track. She has become known not only for her performances, but also for her personality, confidence, and sense of style. Now, in a new conversation surrounding women's sports, fashion, and her New Balance partnership, Thomas is giving fans another look at the person behind the athlete. And one of the most interesting parts of the conversation is the way she views women's sports as a platform for more than competition. Women's sports have been experiencing enormous growth across the sporting world. From track and field to tennis, basketball, and soccer, female athletes are receiving more attention, larger audiences, and greater commercial opportunities. Gabby Thomas is part of a generation of athletes helping drive that change. For Thomas, the conversation isn't simply about winning medals. It's also about visibility. When young athletes see successful women competing at the highest level, they can imagine themselves doing the same. That visibility matters. And athletes like Thomas are increasingly using their platforms to talk about topics beyond race results and medals. One of the biggest themes surrounding Thomas is authenticity. She has never been interested in being defined only by her performance on the track. Her background in education, her interest in health, and her life away from competition have all contributed to a much broader public identity. That is important because modern athletes are no longer expected to simply compete and disappear. Fans want to know their personalities. They want to understand their interests. They want to see their style. And Thomas appears comfortable embracing all of those different sides of herself. Then there is fashion. Gabby Thomas has increasingly become recognized for her personal style away from competition. And that is creating an interesting connection between athletics and fashion. For years, athletes were often expected to look a certain way. Performance gear belonged on the track. Fashion belonged somewhere else. But that line has become much less clear. Today, athletes can move between sportswear, streetwear, and high-fashion looks without abandoning their identity as competitors. Thomas is part of that shift. Her style allows her to express herself outside the competition environment while still maintaining her connection to sport. And that brings us to her latest New Balance collaboration. New Balance has officially featured Thomas as part of its athlete roster, and the brand's latest Ellipse X Gabby Thomas design was created in collaboration with the track and field star. The Ellipse is positioned as a daily running shoe, focusing on comfort and an enjoyable everyday running experience rather than simply performance at the highest competitive level. And that idea fits perfectly with the broader message around the collaboration. Running doesn't always have to be about chasing a personal best. Sometimes it's about enjoying movement. Sometimes it's about consistency. Sometimes it's simply about getting outside and feeling good. That makes the collaboration interesting beyond the professional track and field audience. For an athlete like Gabby Thomas, a collaboration such as this represents something bigger than putting her name on a shoe. It allows her to influence how athletes are represented. The design can reflect elements of her personality and her approach to sport. And it gives fans an opportunity to connect with an athlete through something they can actually use in everyday life. That connection between performance and lifestyle is becoming increasingly important in modern sports. New Balance has also built a broad athlete roster across running and other sports, with Thomas listed among its running athletes. Gabby Thomas represents a new type of sports superstar. The athlete of today isn't necessarily defined by one competition. Their influence can reach fashion, culture, social media, business, and community conversations. That creates opportunities, but it also creates responsibility. Athletes have more visibility than ever. And with that visibility comes the ability to inspire millions of people. Thomas seems to understand that. Her story shows young athletes that success doesn't require them to abandon the other parts of who they are. At the end of the day, Gabby Thomas's latest chapter isn't just about another shoe. It's about how an elite athlete can build a complete identity. It's about women's sports becoming more visible. It's about athletes having the freedom to express themselves. And it's about showing that performance and personal style don't have to exist in separate worlds. Gabby Thomas has already achieved incredible things on the track. Now she's showing that her influence can extend far beyond the finish line. And that could be one of the most important parts of her legacy. So, what do you think about Gabby Thomas's latest New Balance collaboration? Do you think athletes today have more freedom to express their personal style than previous generations? And how important do you think stars like Gabby Thomas are for the continued growth of women's sports? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the latest stories from the world of track and field. We'll continue bringing you the biggest updates on Gabby Thomas, women's sports, New Balance, and the stars changing athletics. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.